In middle school, I used a little bit of the internet, but it wasn't quite like readily. Oh, there's a bird outside. It sounds so cute. Hello everyone, my name is River, and I am an artist, a Twitch streamer, and aspiring YouTuber who enjoys drawing creatures and comics. And I also enjoy creating videos about my art process and just my thoughts in general. Recently, there's been this like Studio Ghibli film festival thing going on over here in the States, so theaters have been playing different Ghibli movies on the big screen every couple weeks or so. And I've basically made it a point to catch as many as I can over these next few months. And I especially wanted to see this movie, Princess Mononoke, because I think it's got to be one of my favorites, if not the favorite of the Studio Ghibli movies. But you know, they're all really great, so it's just so hard to choose. But yeah, I figured while this speed draw was going, I could talk about some of the things that inspired me to draw, and also about the things from my past that sparked my interest in drawing as a kid. So I think I'm already constantly observing the world around me in some way. I look to nature and animals and the human figure. I just love drawing organic things with hair, fur, teeth, eyes, and flesh. But of course, I always feel inspired by my peers, other artists and friends whose work I see online. And my older sister's artwork as well has always encouraged me to want to improve and to like try to keep up with. I like trying to capture senses of movement and weight when I draw. And I'm also just fascinated with cartoons and more illustrative styles in general. And I'm sure this is the case for a lot of us, but you know, I grew up watching movies and films with animals as the main characters, and movies with practical effects and puppets like Dark Crystal, for example. And I also basically learned to read by looking at Archie comics, newspaper comics, and Calvin and Hobbes. The Digimon series and the Lilo and Stitch movie were specifically huge inspirations for me. I also just love the artwork by Chris Sanders in general. And I also just loved a lot of other animated movies and Disney movies as well, so whenever me and my older sisters watched a movie, we would be like obsessed with it for a little while, you know? And we would like create our own characters to be in the movie, or like our self-inserts or something. I mean, I guess we were basically making fantasies, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. The Dark Crystal, The Neverending Story, Calvin Hobbes, Mutts, Archie Comics, Arthur. There's a lot of shows and comics I could list off. And then one day I was in middle school, I think, and I remember we had an exchange student from Korea, and she was my friend, and I still have them saved. Maybe I can have them show up here on the screen, but I remember this young girl giving me a few sheets of lined paper with her drawings on it, and she drew in the style of like manga, and I remember just falling in love with these drawings. And then I began reading manga. I would go to my local library and check out like Fruits Basket and Bleach. And I remember just thinking like, this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen. And then I would like go create my own manga and like publish weekly pages and release them to my sister. And I don't know, I was so industrious with this though. Like I do not have that same discipline anymore, I feel like, but yeah. In middle school, I used a little bit of the internet, but it wasn't quite like readily. Oh, there's a bird outside. It sounds so cute. In middle school, I used a little bit of the internet, but it wasn't quite like readily available at that time to me until about high school. So that is when I really started doing stuff online, as you do. So I would Google and research how to like draw manga and all kinds of things. And then I started to play more intensely on a website we all know and love called Neopets. And I had seen my older sister play on this site before when I was even younger, but at the time the computer would take like freaking minutes to load a page, and I probably wouldn't have been allowed to do stuff online by myself like that anyway, you know, thank goodness, I guess. You know, because you never really know, and I'll explain a little more later about that, but Now, I think I actually owe a lot to Neopets because I think it sort of laid a foundation for me and how I learned to behave online. But it also really introduced me to digital art and like basic file management and exporting, and even a little bit of, HTML coding. But I'll be honest, that was really not my forte. I was much more inclined to do, like the actual artwork and drawings. I would come up with designs and personalities for my Neopets, and I would submit drawings of them to the beauty contest and chat with other users on the forums and try to advertise them so I could get some votes. And then I would do art trades with other users. And I remember this was a really big thing too. I would also submit comics to the Neopian Times, which is like this little weekly online newspaper. And you could submit a comic and maybe get it approved and it would be published. So this was the coolest thing ever to me because for the first time I was like publicly sharing my characters and stories. I think I did use DeviantArt a little at this time too, but I was a small artist, of course, and the comics would get a lot more attention and reach on Neopets, so people would actually go to my profile and message me, and we'd talk about comics and art and, sometimes more personal things. But I guess I was pretty lucky it was on Neopets, which had some safeguards and filters for what you could talk about through the Neomail, as it was called. I think like once or twice someone way older than me would message me. And don't worry, nothing ever happened because I think I intuitively knew something just wasn't right about that. But as I was saying, maybe if I had been even younger, I may not have realized that that was kind of weird. But luckily, most of the people I talked to were normal artists or my own age. So I actually did make friends through the site, and we eventually followed each other on other social media, and I still talk to some of them on Instagram and stuff even today. So it's really cool to see what they've been up to and how their artwork has evolved, and just to catch up on life stuff. In high school, I was also in this like drawing, anime, and manga club, which some of my friends organized. So we would meet up after school and have like a little drawing session or class or whatever. And we would watch like an episode of an anime. And that's how I also got introduced to the Studio Ghibli movies. I think the first one I watched was My Neighbor Totoro. And since then, I've seen several others, just not all of them, unfortunately, yet, but I'm working on it. And Princess Mononoke has got to be one of my favorites, as I mentioned. The music in this movie just makes me cry every time, and the opening scene of the raging hog possessed by, like, evil in the form of these squirming black worms is just so incredible to see. And of course, I love all the giant beasts throughout the movie as well. This movie is a lot more serious, I guess, compared to Totoro and Say Ponyo, which I also recently watched. There's a big emphasis on the themes of conflict and the carnage of war, but it still shows the daily life of people and the community in this little, like, iron milling village. But yeah, I had a lot of fun redrawing the screen cap from the movie, and I had trouble picking one, to be honest, because there's so many others that I would like to study and recreate, but I felt like this was a good choice because I really wanted to draw one of the giant wolves. But of course I also need to draw the princess herself in all her glory. And I started to really admire the colors in this shot, the blues and greens of the trees and leaves, the dark purple shadows on the wolf, and how the sky and clouds shine through the background, and just how the light scatters throughout the foliage. It has some of my absolute favorite colors and subject matter in there, so that's why I chose this scene specifically. I hope I was able to capture maybe even a fraction of the film's beauty, or at least pay some sort of homage or whatever to it, while still putting my own spin on it, in the way that I draw characters and handle line work. I really love using digital brush pens that look like calligraphy. And I think I'm learning that it's okay to let myself be loose with it. And of course, it's really quite interesting to me to see the recording playback and see how my attention travels throughout the piece and where and what I choose to focus on. I think I do try to address the piece as a whole, so I kind of move around, in a spiral. And I'm not sure if I passed it already, but I also blocked some shading in after I had done the sketch, just so I could get a feel for the values. But then I was really excited to hop back in there with colors. I think I also just really love the act of drawing in and of itself. It's very tactile. I love doing things with my hands and having a way to kind of focus and delve into my own world and thoughts for a bit and just create something. So even just making art is kind of a inspiring process for me. But okay, I think I could talk forever about this because I just love a lot of things and I'm always learning something new and feeling the love and encouragement from my family, friends, and other fellow artists. So those things also inspire me a lot. And it's really great being able to share and talk about it in this way with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And maybe you also feel inspired to work on your artwork, your projects, and your dreams. Please let me know if you do and if you'd like to share. I'd love to see what you guys are making as well. But yeah, thank you all for watching and for listening to me ramble on this little side of the internet, and hopefully I'll catch you guys again next time. Okay, bye.